Hey, what is up guys? So the new true Draco Mage, the Draco Fighters, they're all now added into Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. We covered them a while back in a previous video. If you guys haven't checked out that video, I'll link it down below if you guys want to sit there and see all the new cards that just got leaked. But anyways, they got added into the game, and let's go ahead and check out how they play, because this is a really cool duel too as well. Thank you XCC for sending in this awesome replay. But anyways, how the deck kind of works is you get a tribute during your turn or your opponent's turn, and then you're able to get some type of bonus effect, and you tribute them by tributing either monsters, or you can tribute continuous spell and trap cards. And then also the spell and trap cards usually get bonus effects when they are sent to the graveyard. I'll go ahead and go over all the effects when we get into the deck profile. We'll talk a little bit more about the archetype itself, but it's just a kind of a cool replay. And they have a boss monster that's basically like towers, and we ban towers and we re-release cards that are basically the same. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! 2016. Anyways, we have Metatron, which again is like the boss monster of the deck. So it requires 3 monsters or face-up spell and trap cards to summon the card. It's unaffected by the effects of cards with the same type monster spell and trap as the card tributed. So basically you want to tribute one of each, you get out this guy, and then he's immune to pretty much everything except for being destroyed by battle. And he's already got good attack. Well, they also have a field spell that makes it so if he was destroyed by battle, he doesn't get destroyed once. Like once per turn. And I'm just like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! 1 step forward, 10 steps backwards. But, you know, it's new, so people will be playing it. As long as people stop playing that stupid bird deck, I'm okay with this. Although this card is still pretty annoying. Kaiju's still looking pretty good, though. It does get rid of Kaiju's because you are tributing it. Nonetheless, I feel like we gotta run Kaiju's now, like, in their side decks, at least, to deal with things. I know a lot of people do it already. But here's where the good play comes in. He makes a Utopia Lightning. Utopia Lightning gets Fog Bladed, but he makes an Ebon Illusion. He goes ahead and makes the Dark Magician, so he's able to banish a card. He banishes that, and he's going to attack with Utopia, get that 5,000 attack, but it doesn't really matter because this card protects this card, which this card already protects itself. And if this card goes away, guys, look at its effect. If this card is tributed summoned and is destroyed by opponent's card by battle by card effect, you special summon 1 Earth, Wind, Water, Fire, Fusion, Captain Planet, Synchro, XYZ monster from your extra deck. So when it dies, you get out like pretty much whatever you want. That's crazy, man. But let's go ahead and jump into the deck profile and let's talk a little bit more about it. So shoutouts to XCC for sending in this awesome replay. Because it's more of a unique deck, I want to say, in one sense, because I like the idea of new things. Like, I liked how in Infernities you didn't have to have cards in your hand. Like, I like these unique aspects, you know. And this is kind of one. It's relatively straightforward, but nonetheless, how it works is, again, you're tributing by using your spell and traps in your back row, and they have bonus effects. So let's go ahead and go to the deck profile, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the cards as well as the deck profile. So first off, you got 3 copies of the boss monster, and don't worry, there is a little bit of consistency in this deck. But anyways, you got 3 copies of the Metatron, so it requires 3 monster and or face-up continuous spell and trap cards to normal summon or set. So it's unaffected by everything with whatever you tribute. More than likely, you're going to try to use one of each because it says and or. And then when it's destroyed, you get a special summon whatever you want. And that's, you know, a pretty good effect. We'll go over some of the targets later on once we get to the extra deck. But it's a really, really strong card. Like, it doesn't really die, but if it dies, you're still like A-okay. Anyways, the next up we have 1 copy of the True King Azneyeswhitedragon, the Vanisher. So if this card is in your hand, you can destroy 2 other monsters in your hand and or face up in the field, including a fire monster. If you do, you can banish 1 monster on your opponent's field and or graveyard, or graveyard. If both of the destroyed monsters were fire, if this card is destroyed by a card effect, you can add a non-fire worm type monster from your graveyard to your hand. I was thinking about making this deck with Fire Kings when I talked about it a while back, but they got added in because destroying monsters in the hand, some of the cards actually proc their effects in the hand. I know a card like, for example, like the Light and Darkness Dragon, that effect would actually trigger. Not that you'd really want that because that would kind of go counteractive about destroying it to bring out this card, but nonetheless, like, I just want to show you guys some interactions with certain cards. Like the Fire King card would be an actual good example. Next up, there is 1 copy of the Maramune. Manamune, is that the League of Legends? They copyrighted that stuff. Yu-Gi-Oh! Gonna get sued. Anyways, if this card is in your hand, you destroy 2 other monsters in your hand and or face up the field, including a wind monster. And if you do, special on this card, and if you do, banish 4 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. And if the destroyed monsters will wind. And then also, if this card is destroyed by a card effect, you can add 1 non-wind worm type. They all have that kind of effect where you get to add like one of the cards. But wait, we were at this one over here, but you get it's a non-win, so basically it doesn't want you to add itself, but it's fine because you play like pretty much one copy of each, as you guys will see in here. You can only use the effect of it once per turn, but that's fine. Next up, we have the Earth guy over here. So you destroy 2 monsters once again, and then his effect is if you do that, you get to look at your opponent's extra deck and banish up to 3 monsters with different names. I think this one's actually slightly viable. Like, this one has potential to just game someone. If they're playing a Quasar deck, you get rid of, like, you know, Librarian, you get rid of Formula Synchron, maybe another level 2 Synchro that, like, helps make Quasar, and they're going to have generally a bad time with that. And then once it's destroyed, you add a non-copy of itself, pretty much. And then the Water one, again, same effect. And then its effect is that you get to banish up to 2 spell and trap cards from your opponent's field if both of the destroyed monsters were water. It's not going to happen in this build because, yeah, they're not going to be double waters, but I just want to go overhead and go over the effect. Now, with the water and fire, you do run multiple copies of, so you can do it technically, but for the most part, it's kind of difficult to have this plus the other 2. Even though you can search the cards in the deck, we'll get into it later, but nonetheless, it's not like a consistent way to get out the effect, so to speak, in the whole, like, oh, if you destroy 2 of a specific type. But anyways, we have the water one, another water one. So you can tribute it by tributing a continuous spell and trap card to summon it, but you can't set it, which I don't know why you set it anyways, but whatever. Anyways, once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control this tribute summoned card, you could add to your hand or activate 1 True King or True Draco continuous trap card from your deck. So at the moment there is just 1, but obviously they're going to add way more support later on. It's a new deck, sometimes we're limited in the very beginning, but that's a really good effect, and this card is good, which we'll go over once we get to it. Next up, we have the Ignis Heat, the True Dracowarrior. So same effect, you can tribute it by setting a continuous spell or trap, and you can't set it, again, for I don't know what reason, but once per turn, when your opponent activates a card effect, you can add to your hand or activate from your field 1 True King or True King Draco continuous spell card from your deck. So again, it's like the same thing in a sense of the other card, although this one has 100 less attack. It's pretty irrelevant, but anyways, next up we have 3 copies of Majesty Maiden, the True Draco Mage. So you can tribute a face of continuous spell trap to summon it, and you can't set it. And then once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect while you control this tribute summon card, you get to add 1 True King or True Draco monster from your deck to your hand. So again, going back to like being able to like get both of those, that's where it becomes slightly difficult, because you're gonna have to stall for too long. And I feel like generally you won't have the ability to stall for that long in majority of decks anyways, but you usually tribute the card that you have out. I mean, this is only 2300 attack, doesn't exactly protect itself, but with the field spell, you can protect the cards. But again, this day and age in Yu-Gi-Oh, leaving your stuff out on the board when you can't stun your opponent, because it doesn't like negate the effect. It's just whenever they activate something, you're able to also grab something. But next up, we have Magic Planter. This is just to help out with consistency and add some draw power. Then there's a Regeki Soul Charge and 2 Supply Squads. Then there's March of the Monarchs. So attributed summon monsters you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, but you can't special summon monsters from an extra deck. That there is technically a downside to that, especially if you have to have that card out, but nonetheless, this card pretty much keeps itself alive anyways. If you guys want to drop this card, I think it's okay, but I want to show you guys it originally as the guy showed it off. Next up, there's 3 copies of True Draco Succession. So this is one of the cards that you're going to be searching out. So during your main phase, you can draw cards equal to the number of different True Draco and True King monster types. Spell and traps sent to the graveyard this turn. So you're able to destroy stuff, then you can re-add stuff to your hand. But it's only drawing, it doesn't search. If this search, then you'd be looking at a lot more consistency for the deck. But again, this is just earlier on. But anyways, during your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves, tribute someone but not set 1 True Draco or True King a monster. If this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, you can target 1 spell and trap card on the field and destroy it. So it allows you to, again, get that free advantage when you're getting rid of the cards. Summon your cards, you're able to pop something, so you don't go minus. But next up, we have 3 copies of the Diagram, which is the field spell, the Dragonic Diagram. So all of them gain 300 attack and defense, and the first time each tribute summon or tribute True Draco or True King monster be destroyed in battle, each turn it's not destroyed. So again, that helps you keep this thing alive. And then in addition to that, once per turn, you can destroy 1 other card in your hand or field, and if you do, you can add 1 True Draco or True King card from your deck to your hand. So that can help out, again, with the consistency, but you have to get out this card. Then your opponent has to activate effect. So even though you're able to add one from this card, and then potentially add one, as long as this isn't negated, you're able to add one later on, but then you have to wait until your next turn. Again, that's the problem that I have with it. Like, you do have the ability to search out for the cards, again, protecting the cards, but you guys know how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is these days. When there's something that the next turn is going to get a bonus effect, your opponent's just going to go ahead and say no to that. Because not only do you have to have this card out on board, it has to get the effect once, and then you have to wait a next turn, then your opponent has to activate it again, and then you have to be able to search again. So that's really where the problem lies within the deck, as far as being able to like have those double water monsters or have those double fire monsters. That's where I really feel like the problem happens. And the consistency can be a little bit worse. But you can maybe run more magical planners, just run lots of continuous trap cards, and you'll be good to go on that. Next up, we have Vandy's Emptiness. Pretty good, continuous trap card. 3 copies of Fogblade, 2 copies of Oasis, 2 copies of Phoenix Chain, and 3 copies of Revival of the True King. So these other cards, you guys probably are familiar with them, but these 3 cards over here are new. Oh well, this copy of the card is new, because there's 3 copies of it. But anyways, this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard. You can target 1 monster in the field and destroy it. And then you can activate the following effects of Revival of the True King in the same chain. So the first effect is you target 1 True Draco or True King monster in graveyard, special summon in defense position, and you can special summon monsters for the rest of the turn. But it's fine because you just activate it during the end phase. The other effect is during your opponent's main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves, tribute summon but not set 1 True Draco or True King monster. You can only use each effect once per turn. See, I like this effect because it's able to get rid of problematic cards during your opponent's turn, but they still have to activate their effects. Because in order for you to gain advantage, you need to be able to let them activate their effects. So, like, that's the problem that I feel like this deck has. A lot of decks, you warning. As soon as they summon the card, you warning it, so therefore, like, the monster is never going to get its effect. But, like, you want them to get their effect so you can use your cards. So, like, there's a lot of downsides. But for the most part, when they're activating spell cards, that's really easy, and it doesn't negate the stuff. But I just want to showcase off this new deck. So, targets that you have with that card over here, the boss monster, even though this thing probably won't die, you have a lot of, like, just big beaters is really comes out. This card, don't worry about it, you ain't gonna run, well, it can attack twice during the battle phase, but it can't attack directly. And then on top of that, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you get to negate the effects of that monster, including in the graveyard. So that one does has a pretty good effect, but 4K Beater is, at the end of the day, a pretty strong card, but it can't attack directly. But if they happen to have a lot of small monsters, definitely you go for that. You got Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, so it does piercing. You have access to Imperium, the conductive robot. So when you put activate spell trap or monster effect, negate the activation, and you can destroy a card. This is a pretty good card, but I feel like if you made this, you probably won anyways. And like there's Majestic Star Dragon, blow up everything. There's a lot of crazy cards that you guys can make, and they do have a new card. I'll mouse over these cards so you guys can brush up your memory on them perhaps. But I wanted to go over like the new stuff. But I wanted to go over these targets. This is probably one of the better cards to go for. Oh, sweet, someone signed off on Steam. Anyways, more importantly, True King FVD the Beast. So 2 or more level 9 monsters. This one over here is level 9. This one's over here is level 9. This one's level 6. I think there's all of the ones that tribute like the 2. Those ones are all 9s, and then the boss monster is 9. So those are the targets for it. But anyway, once rendering either player's turn, you can attach a material from this card. Declare 1 attribute. For the rest of the turn, face-up monsters on the field become the declared attribute, and your monsters your opponent controls with that attribute can't activate their effects. They also can't attack. And if you would destroy a monster with the effect of a True King or True Draco or True King monster in your hand, you can also destroy monsters your opponent controls. Pretty cool effect. But if you have 2 of these out, at the end of the day, if you got those effects, that's pretty good. But I really feel like your goal should be making this it's not bad, don't get me wrong. I like the Enterprise Near, I think is what it's called, much better, because it has all these other bonus effects. But this card could definitely still be used. It's not bad by any means, but these are just some other targets. Go with that Dyson Spheres, right? These are other cards perhaps that XQC was considering, but he didn't play them. But yeah, very interesting archetype. It reminds me of, again, those Haman, Raya. It reminded me of those a lot. There's another card that special summons all of them, but we don't have the reveal card of what's the downside yet. We didn't get that full effect. But it's an interesting deck. And you guys can let me know what your thoughts are. And I think it's an okay deck. We'll have to wait and see what else they get. But I just feel like it's not as consistent or as fast as other decks, and that can detract some players from playing. But it does have a boss monster that can be really strong. But you gotta have a monster. You gotta have a continuous spell. You gotta have a continuous, its requirement. It does require a little bit. a little bit of something. It's not as consistent as that first turn towers when we had triple scout, triple sacrifice. Like it was way too consistent compared to this. But anyways, let me know your guys' thoughts on the deck. You guys think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Would you change anything in this deck? Personally, for me, I don't really think this card is necessary because like you get on this card, you're A-okay, and that's what I would probably make the deck oriented to. Had thrown Obstacle Cup, make a Turbo Metatron deck. But anyways, oh, through Metatron, isn't that thing from Zone of the Enders? Maybe wait, hold on. No, okay. Because I know that Konami has made a like Castlevania card. I know they made some cards that were reminiscent of Metal Gear, but if you could make a Zone of the Enders Konami, oh my gosh, that'd be my new favorite archetype. But I don't know if any of you guys have played that game. I'll put a gameplay of that game, which has Metatron, which is energy in the game. I don't know if this is a shout out to Zone of the Enders, but Konami did make a really cool game in the past called Zone of the Enders, which I did a playthrough of it a long time ago. If you guys want to check it out, I'll also link that down below in the description box. It's a really cool game. Probably one of my top, it's like my top 10. It's on my top 10 for sure. But anyways, enough ranting. If you guys want to check it out, I'll link it down below. But thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you guys get a like button, a titty slap. And I am signing out.